and welcome to the World Financial Group Jim Sullivan Classic from Thistle St. Andrews Curling Club in St. John, New Brunswick. My name is Keith Rains. I'm joined in the booth this afternoon by former senior world curling champion, Wade Blanchard. Glad to have you here, Wade.
Well, glad to be here. It's like we never left.
Deja vu. It's like Groundhog Day.
Exactly.
Who do we have playing in our featured?
Well, it should be a good match this afternoon, Keith. We've got two provinces represented. We have Robin MacPhee from Prince Edward Island and Sylvie Robichaud from here in New Brunswick. Girls out of Curl Moncton, and I believe Robin's out of the Charlottetown Curling Club, but I'm not totally sure on that.
Why don't you just name off the teams' names for each?
Sure. On Robin's team, she has Sarah Fullerton and playing third, Megan Hughes playing second, and Michelle McQuaid. And I think any hockey players out there, I believe the young McQuaid girls related to the McQuaid that played for the Boston Bruins.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, good defenseman.
Exactly.
Big boy.
Yep. And on the Robichaud team, we have Melissa Adams, who skipped the provincial winning ladies team last year that went to, where was the Scotties last year, the Nationals. Anyway, they went away, and unfortunately they were relegated, and they won their first two games and lost in the final to the very good team from Northwest Territories, so they weren't able to play in the Scotties. But anyway, and Nicole Bishop playing second, and Kendra Lister playing lead. So we should be in for a good match.
And Robichaud, who are shooting the Yellowstone, they have the hammer to start this game off. These games are 8 ends, and there is 8 women's teams in the Sullivan event this year. 10 women's teams and 18 men's teams in the event this year.
Yeah, I believe that's a few teams more than last, so it's a good indication, and very, very good teams on both sides of both the ladies and the men's.
Well, it's a great tune-up to get these teams ready for their provincial playdowns. The women's Scotties provincially will be broadcasting it this year. It's in Moncton. Excuse me. And that will be January 3rd to 7th, so it's early this year.
Right, the Olympic year this year, and it's kind of throws the schedule into a little bit of a loop because of that. And mostly not so much of an overlap of players, but usually for umpires and the CCA officials and all that sort of thing. So that's the reason why everything's kind of moved around this year.
And they will be, like I said, in Moncton. Last year I was Bell TV. We were fortunate to do the men's and women's championship, and I had to go up after that ice storm.
Well, hopefully you won't have to contend with that this year. That certainly added to the flavor of the event, that's for sure.
So this is the first draw for women's action getting underway today. So they have all 10 teams are getting their first taste of the event. Like we said earlier, this is a great field to get these players ready for. And would this be sort of the last event before Christmas for these teams? Is there anything else on the calendar that you know of, Wade?
I'm sure there is. Usually there's probably a couple more events in Nova Scotia and possibly even in Prince Edward Island. To be honest, I've been out of the loop as far as the competitive men's and women's play for a few years. So, but I'm certain they'll go through for a few more weekends yet before they shut it down through the holiday season. It's just being the first. We've just changed. We've been working on our ice, get ready for the event. They've textured the rocks, meaning we just put a light sanding to them, which tends to make them curl a little bit more, and there's a bit of an indication right there. Megan just crashed on the front. But it'll probably, there's probably a little bit of jitters and stuff going on. The teams are all coming in from wherever they're from. Haven't seen some of the other players for a while. There's that sort of thing, and then get out on the ice. They only get to play the practices 3 rocks each on both sides, so they don't really have a great deal of time to get used to it. So it'll probably take a few ends before them to settle in, and before we get to see some really good play. But maybe a little bit spotty to start with, and we'll see how it goes.
And we've seen that in our earlier action. The men, it takes a little while to get used to the ice and how much it's curling and whatnot, and there was a few mistakes.
Right.
And that's what makes it exciting.
That's right. Exactly. No question.
And these ladies are playing for, there's a total prize purse this year of over $5,500. First place takes home $1,750, second $1,150, semifinalists $750, and quarterfinalists $550. And the entry fee, if you're wondering, on the women's side, it is $550 to enter a team in this. So if you can make it to quarterfinals, you recoup your investment.
Right.
After
do they have a paper win as well, or is it just straight qualifying?
Well, I'm going to say, from what it looks here, it's just
a straight qualifying.
Yes.
And then the money's divvied out at that point. I know a lot of the spiels have gone at pay-per win, and gives everybody at least a few bucks to the teams that don't qualify to help pay for maybe the motel or some
meals.
gas and meals and that sort of thing. It's certainly expensive to travel, and I know that the teams, you see a lot of them out there tonight with sponsors and everything, and it can be quite costly to just even traveling amongst the Maritimes here.
And it's nice to have championship events such as this to get yourself ready, because lots of times, as you know in the past, when you were competing, you had to go away to get that competition that you needed. Sometimes you would, maybe go to the thing and there'd be like maybe 1 or 2 good teams, and you need more than that to keep that edge.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a bit of a few change around. Robin just made a double a few shots ago, and now had a nice come around, and I see Sylvie's team just ticked the guard, so now Robin's trying to put a guard on the one in the top of the 8-foot. So I think there again, you'll see looks like it's going to overbend a little bit on them. It's not too bad. It's still probably 2/3 covered. With the proper weight, I think she could take a go at it if she wanted to with the light weight, but looks like she's just talking about taking the guard.
This is Melissa Adams. And you'll see that from time to time. I know on the men's side, you have different players playing on different teams, and obviously between family commitments and work commitments, sometimes some players just can't give the time that's needed.
Good afternoon.
There's all kinds of different things that go on that make up the composed teams, and and
Have you ever wanted a
this,
curling room
event,
signed by an
with
Olympic
men's and
gold
women's,
medalist?
What will happen is,
How about
it takes
four
time.
Olympic gold
You have to be
medalists?
compatible on the ice, getting along. and
At the
everyone has to
World
have the same
Financial Group
dedication.
table in front of the pro
Or-
shop behind
or
seat
you have
4,
to deal with
you can put
everybody's
your
level
name
of
in a draw to
dedication, I guess.
win
Some
a
people
room
have
autographed
a
by
reason to
Team
adapt
Jennifer
than others.
Jones,
And
the
it's funny,
defending
it's almost
Olympic
like,
gold medalist.
marrying somebody before
Talk
you
to
date
George
to
at the
a courtship,
WFT table.
with some of these teams. And
Find out
if you do
more
find
about your financial
there's
future.
usually a bit of a turnover every year of teams,
And
it's
Team
just
Jennifer
they may be
Jones.
good friends or whatever, but you put them out in the heat of competition, and things tend to change a little bit, I guess.
Well, you have an interesting squad this year in your senior ranks. I was fortunate enough to be down in St. Andrews, New Brunswick there this spring, or I could have been summer, who knows.
Yeah.
And you've got, Greg Hanlon?
Yeah, Jeff Fries and Claude Moore.
Wow.
So I haven't skipped in competitive play, or men's or seniors or men's. And I played 5 years for Mike Kennedy and Wayne Talon.
Yeah.
5 wonderful years. We certainly, we had a couple one national championship and first place and a third place, and we got to the final of the New Brunswicks every year. So I was happy about that. But we had our due, and I enjoy playing with the guys from the club here, and so I decided to make a switch, and we'll see how it goes.
Yes. And is your son playing on the men's side?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's been
Zach?
Yeah, he was through work commitments. He was unable to play last year, and he really enjoys it. He loves to skip, and so he's put a team together, and he's playing this year. He lost a tough game earlier to James Grattan, but hard-fought game, and so it's all a bit of a learning curve for him right now. Getting up and getting comfortable playing against some of the top teams in the province.
Well, and if you can hang in tough against Grattan, you've done pretty good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's been kind of the benchmark for men's play here in the province for the last 15 years. So, but for sure, if you can match up against him, he should be good against anybody.
And I seen now the Kennedy, there's a little switch. Robichaud is now skipping, and Mike Kennedy is mate.
Right. Yeah. No, they've not sure why or whatever. Mike's a tremendous player, and I've got all the admiration in the world for Mike and his abilities and the person he is, and just a terrific teammate as well as player. And anyway, so I'm not sure what's going on. It might be just a little confidence thing that Mike's going through. It's hard to say, but he certainly.
Well, they gave us an exciting ride last year at the Senior Nationals in Fredericton, coming away with a bronze medal, and they were a shot or two away from going to the final.
Yeah, they were the best team by far all week. Went through it undefeated, and that semifinal, especially after going through an undefeated week, it's probably the toughest game of the whole week for them. And they were just, as you said, just a couple shots shy, and. Anyway, it was unfortunate because I truly believe they were the best team that week. So.
Well, here we are. We're down to the final shot here for Sylvie in this first end. She's looking at three stones for MacPhee, but all she's got to do is she's got to draw in there and get her point, I guess. And
yeah, it's wide open, and say wide open. I mean, she's still got to throw down and it's first end, and you got to make sure the broom's in the right place and all that sort of thing. But she should have pretty good control here.
Sylvie's out of the.
Looks like she's on the money. So.
Moncton Curling Club. Here it is. Nice shot, right on the money.
Yep.
And get her point, but as the book says, when you don't have the hammer, give up one. When you do, this is a Steve Thompson book. It's a popular seller coming up at Christmas time again.
Yeah.
Steve's Philosophy, and with hammer, score 2, and when you don't, give up 1. And if that is the formula, you should win the majority of the games that you play.
If you can keep to that formula,
I'd say
it is a formula to win. But unfortunately, your opposition usually has something to say about that.
Yeah. Well, it was, and the entertainment part, folks, is like you said. Now these ladies, it's their first time on this ice in this competition. And on the men's side, earlier today, we had your typical game, scored 2, wasn't there, blank. Other team scores 2, next end blank. Then they scored 2. So okay, this is going according to plan. And then all of a sudden, chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos ensued where one team scored 5 in one end, and they were up 7-4. And the other team, the very next end, Stevens' team from Chester, came back and scored. They scored 4 to 5 and 4, and to go up 8-7. And it's just wild what can happen. So
well, it's not very often that you score a 5-ender in a game and lose the game, and especially in competitive play. But the ice, it goes a little bit to the rules of the game now with the free guard zone. You're going to get some rocks in play. And their ice, there's lots of movement in our ice, as you can see, And so those opportunities of getting back in games should be there for you.
We'd like to thank our sponsors for this year's event. Obviously, the Thistle St. Andrews Curling Club and their membership. Their manager, Mike Buckley, World Financial Group, Bell Alliant, Molson Coors, and the Canadian Mental Health Association. So after the first in here, we just started the second. Robichaud scored a single. Now MacPhee has the hammer in this second end. And we have all 8 sheets going in this 3 o'clock draw. We have 3 men's, 3 sheets of men's action and 5 sheets of ladies. In this event this year, we have 18 teams on the men's side and 10 on the ladies. And what we'll do is after the second end of play, Wade will give us an update on scores happening around here at the Thistle Curling Club. If you are in the greater St. John area or planning on come down, it's free admission to come in and have an opportunity to see some excellent curling. And if you so desire, to make a donation to the Canadian Mental Health Association while you're at it.
So it'll be line delay 2, and sounds like she's going to be right on the money.
Ladies are on it hard, try to keep it in line.
Want to get a little roll towards the other.
Yep,
She's
nice
there.
shot.
Double there, no, good shot.
For you just tuning in here, the team Robichaud is playing Sylvia Robichaud, Melissa Adams, Nicole Bishop, and Kendra Lister. And they are playing the team in the yellow and red, Team MacPhee from Prince Edward Island, Robin MacPhee, Sarah Fulton, Megan Hughes, and Michelle McQuaid. My name is Keith Rains, and I'm joined in the booth by Wade Blanchard giving his expert analysis. Oh, Wade, we always have a good time. It's really entertaining. Last year, folks, we did the tankard from Thistle, and we had an opportunity. Jeremy Millay, his wife is a very good curler too, and she's curling actually this afternoon in this. And Jeremy is a former Labatt tankard champion, and so. I mean, I basically just introduced the show and let Wade and Jeremy take it from there, giving their analysis and strategy. It's strategy or tragedy sometimes. But the thing that I really enjoy, and I've seen it a little bit up at the Senior Nationals, is especially as you get more rocks in play and whatnot, and you have plan A, what you want to do, but then all of a sudden halfway down you see that's not happening, and boom, plan B takes over. And that's where experience comes in. Like, you know, you see things that, you know, the average person wouldn't see, but you know what's okay, we're going to go from this, hitting that shot, okay, let's go there, and maybe we can get this angle, and that's experience.
No, you have to, and you have to have be aware of everything that's going on, and you know, just trying to take advantage. Sometimes, for whatever reason, things don't work out the way you want, so you've got to make the best of what you can, what you've got to work with. So Sometimes you have to improvise a lot.
And the house is clean here.
Yeah, and they're kind of looking for what they call a soft deuce, where the house is. Robin's got the hammer, but she, not very often. Second stones, you're throwing up corner guards. So anyway, that's what it would indicate. She's just looking for a bit of a miscue on Sylvie's behalf, and possibly she can score a deuce that way. So Sylvie's not playing around with the guard. She's drawn to the open side. So we'll see how Robin defends that.
So also this year on the New Brunswick curling calendar, we talked the Scotties will be in Moncton this year in January. The men will be up in the Miramichi this year in February.
Right.
And then St. Andrews, New Brunswick is hosting the U18 Nationals
Wow.
in April. April, I believe it's 9th to 14th.
Well, we played Sue Lister down there. She was president of our NBCA for a couple of years, and she's from in St. Andrews, and she got the senior event down there for 2 years in a row, and they just did a fabulous job. Her husband, Vern, he worked hard on the ice, and so the ice was great. This hospitality was fantastic, and they had the mix down there last year, so there's no doubt they'll throw on a really good event for the kids going down there this year.
Now, how many sheets does their curling club have?
Three.
So did they use the hockey rink next to it?
No,
or?
they're right beside. They're under the same roof, actually,
Right.
but separate buildings under the same roof. But they'll just use the 3 sheets, and I believe there's 6 men's and 6 ladies. So they, with the 6 teams, they can accommodate that per each shift. So.
Now I think the juniors though, I think they're going to be using the hockey rink.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Now that's
Wonderful.
what I
That'd be a good experience for the kids to get on that
because
ice.
There's girls and boys, and I think there's like 24 teams all together in that.
No, I think there's just they'll play down. They'll do their play downs, and they'll narrow it down to 6 on each side, I believe. That's the way it has been in the
for
past.
the Nationals.
Oh, for the Nationals. Oh,
yeah,
right.
the Nationals.
Yeah, no, there's 28 teams.
Yeah.
There's 14 ladies and 14 men.
Okay.
Every province and territory
Yeah.
will be represented.
Okay.
And they'll play 2 pools of 7.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily play every team.
Mm-hmm.
You'll play six games in your first pool, and then they'll have what they call a championship pool.
Yeah.
The top 3 teams from each will go into the championship.
Yeah, well, that should be. So I had heard about that a while ago, so I know I'm not officially saying that TV1's going to be there, but I'm lobbying for it.
Yeah.
Because I love staying at the Algonquin.
Yeah, no kidding. I knew where that was going.
My wife is staying at there. She was like, are we going to be broadcasting that? Do you have to go down? Yeah, no, we have always a good time. Well, that's where we got married at, folks. So that's why there's a special connection there to the Algonquin. And the Algonquin is literally walking distance to the curling rink. You walk around the corner.
Absolutely.
So
a nice breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be, like you said, St. Andrews is a lovely spot in our province along the Bay of Fundy for all to enjoy. And
a little quieter in the winter than it is the summer. There's usually a bustling little town in the summertime. And
Canada's first seaside resort town was St. Andrews, New Brunswick.
There you go.
Just a little something for you, folks.
Well, thanks.
Oh, you're
My
welcome.
day's almost complete now.
And now we're down to skip stones here, so we do have a few shots in play now where the house was so nice and clean there a few minutes ago.
Exactly. We'll get a break or blank this now. Robin was trying to draw down and came up a little bit short from drawing back to that back yellow. So Sylvie still has to be careful to knock it by it, but we'll see how it goes here. pretty good. They're kind of off and on, and a little bit. One of the players indicating it might be a little bit stronger, but executed well. So she's laying 3. Robin's got an opportunity. She's looking at drawing up in there. There's another opportunity right there. That way she'd have the guard and have some backing. So I would say that's what she's going to go with, and that's a good call. Just to play the freeze is still probably one of the most difficult shots. Everything just has to be perfect. You have to get the line, the weight, everything. So this way here, there's a little bit more room for error by coming around that guard. You don't have to be frozen or anything. You don't have to be even totally buried. You just have to be. The main thing would be to get shot out of it. So you just come around there and be a little bit high in front of the tee line and be a little good chance of picking up the deuce.
First stone for MacPhee, and the second end.
Looks like it might be just a touch strong.
Adams is on it. Gonna push it to the back.
Yeah, just a
Yeah.
touch, just a touch strong, and
It's sitting. That's the third.
so now Sylvie can kind of go on a little bit more of an offensive because she's laying 2, and try to make it difficult for Robin to score now. She wants to put this probably full top 8, just not quite splitting the center line, but more on the broom side, and that'll cut down on the draw space that Robin has to score. So we'll see how Sylvie see if she's picked up on her draw weight. She's had a couple hits on her last couple hits, so this will give her at least a good opportunity of throwing a draw without having a tremendous amount, pressure being on to make the shot. It looks like she might be a little bit short here. Girls are working it hard, but I think she's going to come up a bit short.
Pulled the string a little bit.
Robin's elected. I mean, there's a couple things. She just threw a draw. A lot of skips, especially after just throwing a draw, would elect just to ignore that back yellow one and play a straight draw down to the 4-foot. But is looking at 2, and she's obviously feels a little more comfortable to throw the hit to get her 1. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just your skip's preference.
But isn't it always wise to know your draw weight, because you might need it?
Well,
you probably need it now. She's looking at 2.
Exactly. There's no room for error there.
Yeah. So she just feels more confident with a little heavier weight.
Robin's always been one of the premier ladies hitters in our times. It's like this one's got a curl on her, so
it could be a steal.
Steal a 1 for Sylvie.
Yeah. It's so much easier to call the game up here, isn't it, Wade?
Absolutely.
I can remember last year, we're looking at, and we got the overhead camera, we can see the game. And I can tell you, when you go down that other end and you have to sit down in that hack, right, it doesn't look like there's a lot of room between those openings. Or
no, you just have to trust everything.
Trust the broom, and trust your weight, and trust your sweepers.
Their judgment and everything, and it's amazing how it all comes together sometimes. And sometimes the rings can be so small, and other times they can't be big enough.
Well, I believe it was your lovely wife, Judy, who I had the opportunity. She was up in the booth with me last year, and we were talking about how she always wants her sweepers involved
Yeah.
when she's throwing. And maybe explain that to the folks at home, that philosophy.
Well, I mean, you're it's like throwing darts at a board, I guess. There's the sweeping. To bring the sweepers into it, and whether they sweep a little bit or a whole lot, I mean, it just gives you a lot more rather than just if you're throwing it. I mean, it's great to think you're going to throw to that tee line or wherever you've got to throw to every time, but there's no room, there's no margin for error if you do that. If you involve your sweepers and get them involved.
And here's a perfect example coming up here.
Yeah.
Here's a rock that the sweepers did not lay a brush to and was too heavy.
Yeah. No, and it just takes everybody out of it. And everybody can fall a little bit asleep if you don't keep them in the game and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot more to it than just than using the sweepers.
And the sweepers can make the rock go further. They can't slow it up. Right? If you throw it,
as I get older, I think I'm doing that. But
if you throw it and they can't stop the thing. Yeah, and it was just funny when was a perfect example where one of the players just threw it and no one laid a brush to it and just went right on through the house, and advantage to the Robichaud the MacPhee team.
no, absolutely, and it just shows you. I mean, everyone thinks of the skips and even the thirds. Those shots are more important. And there's a prime example right there that shows you how important it is to have a good lead. They can put those rocks in the right place. They keep, it just changes the whole complexion of the end. And I think Robin still might have put the corner guard up, but at some point she's going to have to deal with that shot if they put it in the top four. So there's a better shot there, and it may be just a little bit of lack of concentration or whatever, but there's just a small margin of error, and it can look pretty bad with just a small margin. So,
can you give us an update on the games that you see going on around the club here this afternoon?
Well, let's see if these old eyes can focus in over there in sheet one. But and I'm afraid I don't know all the teams as I used to, but Jamie Murphy, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers might know that name.
Yeah, from Halifax.
From Halifax, he's done well in this event. He also played in the pre-trials over in Charlotte or Summerside, and had a pretty good week going. He's playing looks like a Mayhew, which I'm not familiar with that young team, and he's up. Murphy's up 2-0 after 2. And the next sheet, team from this club, the Paul Dobson rink, skipped by Charlie Sullivan, is playing, I believe his name's Paul Dexter, too, from Nova Scotia. And Dexter's up, I don't see the second end up, but it's presently 2-0, and they're playing, 3-0, playing the third end for Dexter. And then on sheet 3, kind of a perennial favorite here at the Curling Club, Dave Sullivan, which would be Jimmy Sullivan's father, and he always plays in it every year. And David at his age is, I'm telling you, he is a fierce competitor, and he's playing Wayne Talon, a young team. Wayne actually calls a game and throws lead on this team, and it's Rene Como throwing skip rocks. And David's up 5-0 after 2 ends, so it's quite a game going there. And then when we move into sheet 4, we've got all the ladies on playing in Thistle. The men are over playing in St. Andrews. And anyway, on sheet 4, we've got one of our local favorites in Sarah Millay playing Kathy Hicks from Fredericton, I believe, last year's seniors winner. And they're tied 1-1 after 2. And on sheet 5, I see Colleen Pinkney, and if people may know that name, she's she was at the World Championships when we were in Dumfries representing the ladies, so from Nova Scotia. She's got a junior team, and I believe she's kind of doing the Wayne Talon thing. She's calling the game and playing lead stone, and playing Tatlock from Moncton, and Tatlock has presently got a 4-0 lead there after 2 ends. And skip over to sheet 7, and a young team from, I'm not sure if they're still juniors or not. Young Smith girl from Prince Edward Island is playing Heidi Hanlon and my wife, and Smith is up 3-0 after 2 ends, playing the 3rd end. And then over on sheet 8, we've got Jennifer Armstrong, which is Melissa Adams' old team, actually.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Playing Shelley Graham from Fredericton, and Jennifer has a 2-1 lead after 2 ends, playing 3rd.
PEI girls got the Colonel Gray colors going on.
Yes, they do.
The gray and maroon.
Yeah, so they may be still juniors. They all look young to me, Keith. And of course, our game, it's 2-0 for Sylvie after 2, with MacPhee holding the hammer.
Yeah, Sylvie scored one in the first, stole 1 in the second to give her the 2-0 lead in this match.
Yeah, I'm always a bit critical of how some people play the game. I mean, Robin put up the corner guard, and then they never use it.
Yeah.
She's trying to use it now by doing it by the hit. She still could put some pressure on Sylvie by just ignoring the 2 other rocks. Some people panic a little bit when you see rocks in there. It's not how you do through the end, it's how you finish the end. And so sometimes people want to get rid of those rocks. This may not necessarily be necessary. You can use them to your own advantage, but she's trying to play the hit and roll behind the corner guard, and looks like this is going to overcurl a little bit under and roll the other way, which isn't terrible. It'll roll towards that other one, and we'll see how that works out. So anyway, but no, that's just a little pet peeve of mine for people putting up corner guards and never using them.
Do you, here's the question. I know in other sports, I used to coach at the university level in volleyball, and you see it in volleyball, you see it in basketball, where teams videotape their games. And like, I'm just thinking of curling here, for example, like where it would be interested, and I don't see it around as much, where if they videotape their games and they just, you could go back to it, let's go back to this end.
Right.
How did that all sort of materialize? Because you know what? Good chance it could happen again sometime with us.
No,
now, does any in the curling world, do they ever do that?
You'll see that more at the junior level. And I know occasionally you'll see some teams from Europe will come and do the tour, and they've got coaching with them, and they videotape everything.
Okay.
And but you don't necessarily, and I can't speak for some of the elite teams. I don't ever recall seeing, but some of those guys are on television anyway. They probably get to take the footage from that. But and I'm sure there is times that they will review some games. But I honestly have never seen it. It's a great, it would be a great tool to, and maybe the teams can certainly have access to this too, right?
Yes, yeah.
So not that we're showing all the games, but I mean, it might be beneficial for Sylvie and Robin to just go back and, it's on, back in the hotel, and you sit and you've got lots of time. Let's just have a little look here and see what we're doing and what, if we're missing anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of the teams don't even don't have coaches, or they do have coaches when they finally get to provincial level, but they don't have coaches that follow them through these events, or very few of them do. Let's put it that way. And it's always nice to have that extra set of eyes following along. And I know I can fall victim to it too. You're out there curling, you kind of get tunnel vision sometimes, and you get going down, and it's just nice to have that extra set of eyes outside of the game that might be able to, at some point, shed light on it when you get to the warm side of the glass.
Well, and like you brought up the point, say, okay, we're putting the corner guard up. Well, then let's use the corner guard. If we're putting it up, like, why are we? Don't go through the motions if
That's
you're not
right.
going to.
Absolutely. And you see it. I see it on men's and women's. Not picking on the ladies
No.
here. I see it all the time with the men's. We just happen to be covering the ladies' game right now. But it's just a criticism of mine that they don't utilize it. And I think it's just a bit of a fear factor in the fact that you're leaving your opponent's rocks there without doing anything to them. And I'm sure that's
It seems to go against the norm, right?
It does, but you've got to have that comfort zone and the comfort level to be able to do that, and the confidence in your team to make the shots that you ask for, and by doing that too, it puts some extra pressure on your opponents as well. So it looks like Sylvie's just kind of playing a little bit more of a lightweight shot here and taking that red off. I mean, it's number 2. Another option she might want to try to put a guard on it, but she's at a two score lead here, and so she just wants to eliminate.
If you get a chance, folks, visit bellalliant.ca/TV1 for the community channel schedule. TV1 is available to Vibe customers in Atlantic Canada on Channel 1. Vibe TV1, powered by Bell Alliant. Keith Rains and Wade Blanchard in the booth here, bringing you the 6th annual World Financial Group Jim Sullivan Classic from Thistle St. Andrews in St. John, New Brunswick. And we're into the 3rd end already. And we've got a 2-0 lead for Team Robichaud from Moncton over Team MacPhee from the Prince Edward Island. And we're down to Skip Stones.
Robin's coming here to shoot now, Keith, and some people might remember Robin. Robin's got quite a resume. She curled juniors and won the World Championships curling with Suzanne Goody at the time, and her name's now Suzanne Burt. And they've been playing off and on together for years. And to be quite honest, I haven't followed the local ladies scene, and I'm not sure if Suzanne is still playing or not. But they were quite a tandem for a long period of time with a lot of success, both in the juniors and when they got to ladies play. They lost in a international final to, I believe, Colleen Jones, I think. But great players.
Sylvie's Robichaux's last shot of this 3rd end. These end games are 8 ends in total. If it is tied, they will play a full extra end. And it just shows you at the start of the game, lots of times we're not taping it, but they have what they call draw to the button. And why don't you explain what that's all about and how important it can play a role in determining teams making it to the playoffs or not?
Well, one of the great things that they've decided to do, and for years the last shot was chosen by a flip of a coin. So I mean, it's just a real fluke to who's going to end up throwing it. It is important to get off to a good start, and you look at Sylvie, for example. She scored one the first end and then stole another one the second. So she's up 2-0 here after 2 ends. But they've decided on to do it by play, and it's twofold. I mean, you get on the ice for a few rocks. Some depending on the length of time that you have. Every player might get to play like 2 rocks each. I know in provincial play, for example, you have a 10-minute practice, of which 9 minutes is actually for the practice, and then you have 1 minute to throw your draw to the button, and then they measure it, and then the other team will go out and play. But for time, they're a little bit restrained for time. There's a lot of teams playing, it's a long weekend, and so they've elected to, what you do is you elect one player to throw 2 rocks up and down, and how they do is they flip to see who throws first, and then choose side. So one team will throw in turn, one will throw out turn based on a right-hand shooter, for example, and they'll throw towards the head house, meaning they'll go to the far end where they are now. And so that particular thrower will throw 2 rocks, and then the third one is what counts. And after the 2 teams complete, then the closest to the center gets the hammer. Or I'm assuming they want to select hammer, but anyway, it's always nice to have hammer in the first stand, I think.
And they keep track of those measurements for tie breaks.
Exactly. So you'll have an accumulative time or distance, over the week. And if they do get into some tiebreakers, whoever's got the least amount of length will win the tiebreak. So Robin ended up blanking that last end, and we'll see if she gets a little bit more aggressive here. She's got a choice. She can hit that because it's tight in the rings, but they're electing to throw up a corner guard. So I'm happy to see that. We're going to see a few rocks in play here. It's always a little more exciting.
We love to see rocks in play.
Yes, we do.
And we'll be broadcasting games all weekend from Thistle St. Andrews. We're back on the air tonight at 6 p.m. And in that, the 6 p.m. draw, we're going to have Stuart Thompson taking on Jeremy Millay from Thistle St. Andrews. I think is Stuart.
Stuart's from Nova Scotia.
From Nova Scotia.
He's a fine young team. They were just up in Charlevoix, Quebec last weekend. They were the defending champions up there, and they got to the final again this year. But this year lost to the final to a Furlan from Quebec. So very good team. Jeremy came out with a big win earlier today. So. I believe they're both 1-0, so it should be an excellent game for you to cover tonight.
And then the 9 o'clock game is we have Wayne Talon and Paul Dexter. So that will take care of day 1, and then day 2 we're back on the air at 11:30, and that will be the Heidi Hanlon crew taking on Kathy Hicks.
Wow, Kathy, Heidi would like to have a little shot at getting back at Kathy. Kathy was by far the best team in their provincials last year. Heidi and their squad got off to a little bit of a slow start and just never really got on track last year. So anyway, you kind of reboot and start all over again this year.
Out of these 10 women's teams, the top 6 will go on to the playoffs. Tiebreakers will be head-to-head, then last shot draws to decide who will go forward.
So the top 6, so that must mean that the top 2 teams probably go automatically through to the semifinals, and then the bottom 4 teams must play in the quarterfinals. I guess must be how they got it worked.
Yeah, on the women's side, the quarterfinals is 4th and 5th ranked and 3rd and 6th ranked.
Okay.
1 and 2 automatically in the
The
semis.
semis, right on. Okay.
Makes it a little easier, one less game you have to play,
Yeah, the closer you can get to that.
and you can sleep in.
Yeah. Well,
That was always a huge incentive whenever I played.
Well, at that point in time in the weekend,
Yeah.
a little rest is probably really good, beneficial.
Now, here's a question for you, one of infinite knowledge and wisdom. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
I went through this as an athlete, but I want to hear your comment. Like, okay, morning draws. Some people are not morning people. I know. It's hard to believe. You know, you play better. Sometimes you might play better in the afternoon. Maybe you play better at night.
Right.
To get ready for a morning, do you get up earlier to get yourself mentally ready, physically ready, get the blood flowing? Like, say, okay, I got an 8:30 draw. Well, are you getting up at 7, time enough to have a little bite to eat and get to the rink? Or are you actually getting up earlier to get yourself physically, mentally ready to play? And does it change from preliminary play to championship play? Go.
I personally, I can only speak
Yeah.
from a personal point of view, and I know what you mentioned. I know everybody finds it differently. I mean, some people prefer to play in the evenings and or afternoons or mornings, and to me, I'm a morning person. I get up. I get up early every morning, and I don't really change my. I may lay in, but I don't
Yeah.
necessarily sleep in.
Yeah.
So for me, morning games, is better. I would get up and just do a normal routine in the morning. Get up and just get up and get my mind awake and going, and then I'm good to go. But you do a series of exercises and stretching and this sort of thing, but basically we're through, and I wouldn't eat or do anything differently on that. I just eat what I normally would, and no different from me going to work. So
Now, with that being said, since you are a morning person, if you're playing in an event like this and you got a 9 o'clock game, now would you try to fit in a little nap in there somewhere if you got a break through the day? So, okay, you know what, I'm going to go and have a little hour and a half shut eye here. So, because you might be shutting down your engine at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
That's true. I mean, sometimes you can get your your adrenaline will get you going, but I definitely will, especially as I get older, and certainly a little nap will go a long ways. And I know when I was younger, I used to have a nap in the afternoon for an evening game, and we'd gone to some nationals where we play in the morning, and have the worst possible for me is to have a morning draw and an evening draw, and then you have the afternoon off.
Yeah.
Because I was always go and have a little nap in the afternoon, and I would feel terrible.
Okay.
When I was younger, but now it's welcomed.
Well, I can remember golfing. I worked at a golf course when I went to university. Well, I always golfed in the afternoon. Like, I was great.
Yeah.
And then I played in the odd tournament, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I couldn't feel the golf club for the first 2 or 3 holes. It was hit and hope. And then by the 3rd hole, I said, okay, you know what? Okay, I'm going now. I actually feel the club. It was like hit and whack on the greens.
Right.
And I said, oh my goodness, it's just a different beast altogether. And I know in events like this where, these ladies will be, playing. I know on the men's side they're playing five matches.
Right.
In 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's all those little things, right,
So
Wade?
So every team on the men's side is going to have a 3-game day.
Yeah.
And back when I was playing, 3-game days were commonplace. Rarely do the teams get to do that anymore. And goodness, we'd play 3 games and then party half the night. So
what? Okay, that will be edited out.
Yeah.
Don't know what he's talking about there, folks. I have no idea. This is very serious stuff we have going here.
Times have certainly changed. There's no question.
And people are fitness is a big
Oh, nutrition, fitness,
Yeah.
everything is a big component
Yeah.
of it all. I mean, the stakes are so much higher now too, Keith, and with the Olympics in play, and which is going to start tomorrow for the Canadian trials to determine our men's and women representatives. So in Ottawa, but yeah, the stakes are so much higher now, and the bar has been elevated so much higher. It's incredible, really.
Well, and it's the exposure, just like what we're doing here today, broadcasting this, excellent event and these games. Here comes a big shot here where we're trying to get a run back, get a piece. Oh, nice shot.
Absolutely.
Beautiful shot. Cleans the house. And, you're seeing it all the time on TV where, it's these different events that are going on, and even locally or regionally, they can be webcast. So they got friends and family. They could be in BC watching this, or they could be over in Paris catching a relative or a friend playing in an event. So it's not like it was, 10, 20 years ago.
My eyes just wandered over to my wife's sheet, and anyway, it was a tough break there. They were hitting for three, and jammed it back on one of their own, and only ended up getting one. So that's a bit of a toughie to swallow. But anyway, those girls are probably one of the most resilient teams that I've ever seen, and they just keep on going. So Sylvie's got an open hit. I'm sure she'd like to flop in behind a little bit and see if they can make that run back again. So
Hit
the other way a little bit. Yeah. So
behind protection.
yeah. So Robin will just ignore that now and figure out what the best. I mean, she's got two options here. She can draw around the center guard, or she can draw around the corner guard to the back yellow one, which wouldn't be a bad play. The only thing is, if she makes it, even if she makes it perfect, Sylvie may still ignore it and draw around the center guard herself. So I assume that's why Robin is elected to play to get to the center first.
Here we are. We're into the fourth in here. Robichaud is up 2-0. MacPhee does have the hammer. MacPhee has the red stones.
Girls are on it right now. Looks like it's going to be close to the front as well. It was hanging out there, but it really comes hard.
Wow,
And,
that's biting in hard.
yeah.
Look. Oh, it just rubs.
Well,
And got a bite.
that puts a little bit on Sylvie now. She's got to draw in there. I mean, if she doesn't although I think that yellow is pretty much buried as far as getting to it, she might be able to throw a wide out turn, easy tap on it to get to. But anyway, I'm sure Sylvie will try to put this in with a 4-foot and at least lay two and take that option away. Couple shots here after these next couple shots. Maybe give a quick update there. There's some interesting developments going on across the sheets.
It's like an election.
Yeah,
We got a result in from
yeah, exactly.
the 5th county over here.
He's going to have to work this
Oh,
one,
they're-
I think.
The sweepers are doing omen's work here in this end
It's gonna
on
come
both
up-
teams.
Come up a little bit light, so now Robin's seeing if she's got any look at this at all.
She can get her two. Get back to even terms.
There is a. It's kind of a risk-reward thing. She could possibly play it tight onto the red one, and and she's only needs to play like back just through the rings type of weight. And if she does clip the front one, she might bump it into the 8-foot and get her one that way. I mean, it certainly would give her an option. But it looks like she's going to give it a go. But I think the ice is curling. There is significant curl outside in. So if she throws the right weight here, I think it is available to her.
Last shot of the fourth in for MacPhee. Looking for two. Oh, it just bumps, but
There we go.
there you go. Plan B.
Or, I mean, I think it
Maybe-
was.
was it plan A?
It might have been an A minus.
A minus, okay. But
I think it was definitely an option if she throws it. If she throws it proper, it did give her that option to do that.
so we're all tied up at the halfway mark, 2-2. I'll give you a little update on why this event is going on and why we call it the Jim Sullivan. Jim Sullivan was son of a New Brunswick curling legend, Dave Sullivan. Took up the game of curling at age 12 and never looked back. His contributions to the game, both on and off the ice, left a lasting impression on the Atlantic and Canadian curling culture. Big, tall, and lanky, Jim could be seen smiling and talking to folks in curling clubs all across the Maritimes, and generally everyone he talked to smiled back. Jim had a large personality and love of people that earned him the reputation as being the nicest guy you ever lose to. True to that reputation, Jim did his share of winning. He skipped the junior team, which captured the 1987 New Brunswick and Canadian Junior Men's Curling Championships and the 1988 World Junior Men's Curling Championships in Germany. The Sullivan Rink was New Brunswick's first world champion in any sport in more than 60 years. New Brunswick's first world champion in any sport in more than 60 years. Wow.
Yeah, wow, was right.
In 1990, Sullivan and his team were the silver medalists at the Labatt Brier, an era when 100 teams would turn out in New Brunswick for a shot at the provincial tankard. Remember those days?
I do remember those days.
That's a scary thing. Versus 20 teams today. The team was inducted into New Brunswick Sports Hall of Fame in 1994. Jim won countless other titles, including at the high school level in mixed curling, cash spiel titles, Super League titles, and his favorite annual spiel, the Oromocto Open, held at the Gage Curling Club, where Jim won A section many times, taking home a boatload of prizes from the co-op. Jim was a lifetime member of the Capital Winter Club in Fredericton and was a member of the Thistle St. Andrews, where he organized and chaired the TSA Fun Day Cash Spiel. Jim Sullivan's legacy goes well beyond curling. The WFG Jim Sullivan Curling Classic honors Jim, his passion for the game, and his friends in curling. Jim Sullivan. Yeah, 100 teams.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the largest I've ever curled in, and I can't recall the year, but there was in the early 80s, and there was like 126 teams. It was in the Capital District in Fredericton, and we played in Chipman and Stanley and Harvey, and oh my goodness, it was unbelievable. And of course, just just good old maritime flavor, just to add a little bit extra to it. There was a major snowstorm that weekend, and lots of fun.
All good. Well, like I think I said to you last year when I went to university, I knew Donnie Pennell.
Yeah.
So Donnie, because Donnie was worked with Mike Murray had the cantina at Rockwood Park.
Right.
So that's why Donnie was working the bar and like there. So that's how I get to know Donnie, because I worked at the golf course in the summertime. So we all went to UNB together, and we had, so for Phys Ed week we had a curling bonspiel
Right.
to boot, and that was the biggest thing during the Phys Ed week was. Because Donnie, obviously, like you, in the curling world, had friends up in Fredericton. And we got these teams together, co-ed teams, and we had a little initiation on here's what you do in the hack, here's what you do with the broom, here's how you sweep. So we had a little clinics before the event started, and we played, I think, like 4 end games. And we got done in the day, and then we had a big dinner and dance that night, and we sold out every year.
Yeah.
And but Pennell, you knew Donnie.
I went to a Briar with Donnie in 1980.
Did you? Because who was all on that team now?
Richard Ballier was the
Richard.
skip.
Oh, and Wade McKinnon. Was McKinnon?
No,
Norbert.
Norbert. No, Norbert wasn't on that team. It was Richard. Donnie was the third. I was the second. And oh goodness, having a
Blank.
Brian
Bellier?
no, McLeod was the lead, and unfortunately we lost Brian. You can imagine it was a few years. He was from Manitoba originally, the Manitoba Tuck, and great guy. And
They loved their curling in
tremendous-
Manitoba.
Oh yeah, and he was a tremendous player. He worked for Otis Elevators, and he was away with his family and skiing and got into a bad accident, broke his leg really bad, and while he was in the hospital, gangrene set in, and lost his life.
Yeah.
Hard to imagine in this day and age it happened, but anyway it did. And he was a great loss. So
But Norbert McKinnon was, because him and Donnie were good friends.
they were very close friends.
So Norbert obviously was in the curling world too.
Definitely, yep. They went. I'm trying to remember. I think they went to some juniors together. But
Okay.
I don't believe they ever went to a national together at either the men's or the mixed level. I don't believe. But they were 2 peas in a pod. Those guys.
Yeah. But like Donnie, he would have been a good sweeper because he had a huge
Yeah.
set of shoulders on
He
him.
was
Big
an
boy.
able boy for
Yeah.
sure.
And now the last I heard of Don, he was teaching, but he was in DePauw.
He
It
is
was north of Winnipeg.
Now living on Vancouver Island
Okay.
with his significant other, and she was a teacher as well, now
Yeah.
teaching. And I believe they may both be retired now, and up around the Duncan area. It's Campbell River, one of those places on Vancouver Island.
Okay. There's a little something for you. Never. He could be listening to this today.
Could be. Old Donnie loves the game. I used to see him from time to time. Unfortunately, his dad passed a couple of years ago, so I used to come home and visit with his dad, and used to get to see him from time to time. Or he'd always drop in the club and spare for me or against me. Anyway, great guy.
And here we are. We're into the 5th end now. These games go fast when it's only 8.
Yeah, and they're playing a pretty open, wide open style of game too. Once again, putting guards up and not really utilizing them. And although Robin didn't have the hammer there, so trying to roll behind. Here's Sylvie. She's trying to do the same. They hit well behind that guard. And she very well could have just draw behind it, but she's elected to try to hit and block behind. Just kind of give you a little update across the board. Over on sheet 1, you got Jamie Murphy up 3-0 after 4 ends playing Mayhew. Sheet 2, the Dobsons are having a rough go of it today. They're down 5-1 after 4 against Dexter. Talon came back in the 3rd end with a big 3-ender, so he is can't see the fourth end, but it looks like he's down 5-4 at the moment to Dave Sullivan, with Dave having a hammer. On sheet 4, Sarah Malay's up 3-2 after 4 over Kathy Hicks. On sheet 5, Colleen Pinckney's got back with a score of 2 and a steal of 1 to be down 4-3 after 4 to Tatlock from Moncton. On sheet 7, Smith is up 4-1 on Heidi Anlin. And over on sheet 8, Jennifer Armstrong is up 4-1 on Shelley Ray. Sorry, excuse me, I didn't see that. 4 up there, 8-1.
Wow.
On Shelley Ray.
And we talked about that. I had Kevin Babin up in the booth, and we were talking about teams that, you just get off on the wrong side and have a bad end. You shake hands or you keep playing. And the philosophy was, for Sunset, well, no, we gotta work this. We gotta work this out for our next games. Like, we gotta figure out the ice. We gotta, figure out the weight. So let's keep playing another end or two before we call it a day.
Yeah, no, there's it's funny, my boss, who's been a sportsman his whole life, and it's one of the things he can't quite understand is why teams concede. He's coached baseball and hockey pretty much his whole adult life, and anyway, so I just tell him sometimes it's you just know when you're defeated, you don't want to get into a bench. You just want to wipe the slate clean, start fresh all over again. Or in the case of, you were mentioning the men's teams here playing 5 games in 2 days. Sometimes you just want to, you're beat. So why? It's probably best utilize that time by getting some rest. There's all kinds of things that you might, or to your point, you might just say, let's just take this opportunity to forget the scoreboard. Let's just keep and see if we can get into a bit of a groove here. Making shots, getting her confidence up, getting sweeping going, all those sort of things. So there's many ways you can try to make it work in your advantage.
Yeah. Because you could see it almost more so in day 2.
Yes.
So okay, we got to play again tonight.
Right.
Like, okay, let's take a break, but especially day 1, it's like, let's get this figured out here now.
You should, absolutely, you should.
And for you folks who are tuning in and listening and would like to give a little shout out here, I'll give you my email if you want to send us a little email on your thoughts. Mine is Keith Rains, KeithRaynes, East Coast @gmail.com. That's Keith Rains, East Coast @gmail.com. Doesn't matter where you're at in the globe. If you'd like to give a little shout out to Wade and I, or say hello, or wish good luck to the teams that are here this weekend, love to hear from you. And
I just wrote that down, Keith. I'll be abusing you tonight for sure.
Well, it was talking about abuse. We have a few of the organizing committee who are on planes now going to Ottawa. But it's really nice that they would give up their time and help to make this event a success, and then leave.
Yeah.
So I told them I'd be giving them a little dig this weekend. We'll be listening to Rainsy. We're going to be watching it. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I can't imagine we have this event every year, approximately usually the same weekend. I can't imagine they scheduled the Olympic trials.
I don't know what they were thinking. I'm going to have to send an email to the Olympic Committee. Like, I personally, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I heard that.
That's got to affect their
ratings.
ratings a little bit, for sure.
Oh,
So
dear.
to apologize to Vic and Russ and Cheryl.
Taking all those. Well, that's the thing nowadays is sometimes it is, again, a little bit more challenging to get people out to events when they're so well broadcast on the TV. But when we had the Worlds here, an interesting thing, they had just started trying it, and I think that they must do it other places now, but you could buy almost, it was like a little transistor radio, and have it, and you would tune in to the TV broadcast.
Right.
So you could sit in the ring, get the expert analysis like you're getting here right now from Wade, not so much from me, I'm just the observer. And it was good, so because my wife's father, we bought him passes for the event, so he went down, and he had the earphone thing in, and he's got a buddy with him, and he goes, Glendon, what you got there? He says, well, I'm listening to the broadcast of the, and so then he went out and bought one. So what they were going to try to do, from a recycling perspective, is if you kept this device and you went to other that they were hosting, then you could tune in, still tune into them. So that was cool, because that was one of the things people sort of complained about at going to these live events is
You don't get that.
you sort of miss that little banter.
Right, exactly.
Because that's all we do. We banter. We have good banter.
It's just opportunity missed there from Robin. She had a chance to put the pressure on, at the very least, force Sylvie, and she couldn't come around that guard and lay two and one be buried and put the pressure on Sylvie. But unfortunately, she was a little bit light and overcurled onto the guard, and Sylvie's got an excellent opportunity of blanking this end and carrying that hammer into the sixth end with a 1 point lead. So.
Steve Thompson must be here for a book signing.
Yeah.
It is that time of year, folks. You're looking for that special Christmas present. There you go. The Book of Curling, brought to you.
Well, if you've got a curling event at Thistle, and certainly one where Leah's playing in, you're always going to see the Thompsons here to support the club and to support their daughter. So.
Well, I hauled him in last year because we had the Scotties were up in Miramichi. As I said, we had that huge ice storm.
Yeah.
But the big guy made it. I ran into him in the lobby of the hotel.
Well, he appreciated the pay.
Yeah. Oh, it was huge pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably affected his T4 at the end.
I see Sarah just got a nice 3-ender in the 5th end to go up 6-2 after 5 ends, so she's got a commanding lead in her game. Full control.
So Steve will be in a much better mood.
Yeah, and Sylvie did blank that end, so she's got control of this game. Although it's only a 1 point lead, but it's still a nice control. You've got the hammer with a 1 point lead playing 6, so it's a nice position to be in. I'm sure Robin will be doing whatever she can here to force, or at the very least maybe even score herself, steal.
I'm just trying to think when the people from around the world are going to get a chance to listen to the great one. 6 o'clock tonight. Prime time.
There. Exactly.
Forget listening to the news. Tune into us. The Stephen Thompson Show will be live. He's going world. Under 1 million people listen to us tonight.
Guaranteed.
Well under 1 million. I can remember I said that to one of the guys, newbie, told me. I said, well, there'd probably be under 1 million people listening to us. He goes, what? I said,
Listen to what I said.
well under 1 million. Of course, you never know. Crazier things have happened, but it was just the look on his face about under 1 million. Yeah,
Absolutely.
under 1 million.
Guaranteed.
Could be 50, could be 1,000. But I know it's under.
Could be my mom.
But you're surprised. I did a basketball championship, high school basketball championship, and I had people from Dubai, Paris, Florida, all tuning in because they had relatives, right? And or someone knew the coach, and well, there was a father. That was the Dubai one. He was over there on work, and he couldn't. And he tuned over. He said, "Oh my, great! It's like 4 o'clock in the morning here, or whatever." And but that's what the web can do now, right? It keeps people in contact, and so they can share in those moments.
Just had a hug rock there, which kind of makes it a little bit difficult trying to put the pressure on, and so we give Sylvie an opportunity of hitting an open rock. Posts over there between 3 and 4 make it difficult to see some of the scores sometimes. Anyway, you guys are scoring too many points on sheet 3, and they're in the gray zone.
Sometimes the guys are a little late putting the scores up too.
Yeah, I must. That's one thing I can say that Mr. Hanlon is very good at. We work hard for our points, and he loves to put them up right away, and I admire that.
So what is there any etiquette or protocol to who puts? Is it supposed to be the mate?
It's usually the third that does
Okay.
it. Yeah. They're the ones that usually will. They're the ones that have the rings when the scores are being determined, and so because of that, that's the reason why they usually are putting up the points. They get paid a little more than those two, so.
It's good to keep that Hanlon boy working.
Exactly.
Yes. Keep him in line.
I always used to.
And just let you know, Greg Hanlon is Heidi Hanlon's husband, and Wade's wife Judy plays on Heidi's team too here. That's next to us on sheet 7.
Right.
And Heidi and her crew are former senior women's world champions. When was that? 2015, 14?
Then we won the Worlds.
Yeah. When did you guys win?
And the girls won in 2012.
2012.
Right.
Okay. And
We won in 2015.
yeah.
The girls got inducted into the Brunswick Sports Hall of Fame last spring. It was
That's
awesome.
right.
At the Q-Plex. It
Yeah,
was
I was
a
right there.
great event.
I was on that organizing committee. I got the phone call from Aaron Kennedy. Keith, we have to fill the split. How many tickets we got to sell? Give me some ammunition so we can have. So when they told Heidi, I went, okay, that's good.
Aaron's a great guy. He's a good organizer.
Yeah.
He works hard out there. And anyways, Quispam have a lot of pride in that building.
Yeah.
They keep it busy, pretty busy all the time.
Yeah, and we just got won the bid to host the World U17 Hockey Championships
Excellent.
next
Wow.
next November. I believe they're going to have games at the Q-Plex as well as at Harbor Station.
Nice.
So that's going to be a great event coming up on the sports calendar for us for next fall, late fall, early winter. Shot rate on it, and not much of a roll.
A great shot for the local economy. It's
Mhm.
excellent. So they're playing another pretty straightforward end here, Keith, and there's one guard up front, and they're just in one on the open side. They keep been hitting. They've been hitting it successfully, and it started back in the back 12, and now it's a top 12. So lots of good shots, but no rolls and pretty conservative play. Sometimes when you look at it, it looks conservative to us, but when you've got a 1-point lead and scores 2-1 and it's played 5 ends, there's been a couple of blanks. It's critical to make your shots, and sometimes when you get into these sort of close games, there's a little more pressure than there would be if the score was 8-7 or something like that.
Well, and in most cases, the players are making their shots. That's
Correct.
what's keeping everything clean.
Correct.
It's when you see a lot of clutter, it's in most cases is due to either the rocks have over curled or someone just a little light, and it opens up the sort of the floodgates. And
Well, and that's what you were saying about plan B or C or D sometimes, you know, because the shot called is not the one that's happening. So that usually, the strategy usually goes out the window and you got to come up with a new plan. There's a nice shot. The rock was about half buried. Flop boat back over where we started from. He's able to put a little more pressure on the girls. They must be settling in or whatever. We got a steal of 1 in the 5th. They're down 2, playing 6, but they're laying 3 right now without hammer. But 1 is right top butt, completely buried. So they're in a real good position here to steal, possibly 1 or more.
this one needs a curl a bit.
It's going to get a piece of it. It'd be
Yep.
interesting if it sticks around the back somewheres. It looks like it might hang on, but still going. Oh, just rolls out. So Robin will probably try to come around that guard and put a little bit of pressure back on Sylvie. Possibly, as I say, steal, as I mentioned earlier, or very least force her to 1.
Down to Skip Stones here in the 6th end. We'll be back on the air again tonight at 6, and then our final draw of the evening will be at 9 o'clock this evening. Tomorrow our coverage starts at 11:30, and we'll be going 11:30, 2:30, 5:30, and 9, because there is some speeches and tomorrow evening about mental health and whatnot, a reception here before we get to the 9 o'clock draw. Just wanted on top 12.
Yeah, it's not going to quite bury like they did, so now it's going to be wide open. So anyway, that allows Sylvie to try to hit and roll in there. Nice thing for Sylvie, it's just her guard too, so she.
Now, where would she want to hit and get in behind that guard, or does she want to go to the
I think
right?
I think where it's her guard, I think she'd like to hit and roll right. It's absolutely dead bury it right behind it. Now, if that was her opponent's shot, she might have 2 schools of thought. She might want to try to roll to the outside, or if she did roll underneath it, she wouldn't want to be dead buried, because then if they made the run back, it wouldn't be dead buried itself.
Okay.
So if you angle it a little bit, bury it about 2/3 or whatever, then she's got to angle it so it should be open for her when she goes to hit it. So there's all kinds of, but in this particular case, I would expect she wants to be dead buried right behind it. It's got to curl up a little bit.
A little bit of a roll.
Close.
Yeah. So,
Just notice the girls are throwing pretty strong weight, is what I've noticed, and it's
taking the curl.
It's not really taking the curl like they would hope. But I've seen them some shots out there where you take a little bit off and they really, really curl hard. So it's about finding that balance between the two. 8 coming up here, I would think. I mean, some skips would draw for 1, and she's looking at possibly even a split on this. I think it would be a good opportunity to give it a go, because at the very least, if she gets 1,
she's up 2.
She's going to be up 2 with 2 ends to go, and that's a great position. I think if you talk to any,
Because this is, you always talked about this, I remember you said, the 6th end,
yeah,
I want to score,
yeah,
give the hammer back to them in the
I
7th,
don't wanna-
and
I
then I have
wouldn't
it for the 8th.
that's right. And I wouldn't want to score to give them to tie it. I mean, I would probably
Yeah.
blank, but if I'm going to take a lead, I'd definitely like to score in the 6th end, or if you're playing 10 in the 8th end.
Yes.
So it looks like she's going to give it a go, and I think this is a good call here. She's got an opportunity of splitting for 2, and if she scores just the 1, that's a great play as well. Through the scoreboard there, I look over on sheet 1, and
Wow.
Murphy's got well in control of 5-1 after 5. Dobson's still struggling right now. He's down 5-1 after 5. It looks like to Dexter. He's still having a hard time seeing that scoreboard with the pillars over there on sheet 3.
6s.
They're tied at 6.
Yeah.
So the Talons come back and tied that game up. They're being after 5, and
Yeah, she's
looks like she's going to get the blank.
okay.
So
Didn't get the roll that you wanted to.
no, had to hit that certainly a little. She hit it quite thick. So, and on sheet 7, Heidi just got to steal a 2, and she's right back in it. Tied that game up after being down 4-0. Now it's 4-4. So playing a young team, it's sometimes they can hear those footsteps, and Heidi's been curling for years and lots of experience. And,
No panic.
no, they're just so. Anyway, I mean, they'll play it out, and she's playing a great young team, but we kind of put advantage Heidi right now, and then still. Armstrong's got lots of control over there with an 8-2 playing 6.
With hammer.
With him. Yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch is right, yeah.
Well, if you get a chance, folks, join Vibe TV1 Scott Squires as he chats with Cyril Money on CTV's Sideline Scoop each Monday at 8:40 a.m. Atlantic, 9:10 a.m. Newfoundland. Get up to date on Beltline Vibe TV1's weekly AUS sports coverage. That's Sideline Scoop, Mondays on CTV Morning Live Atlantic. My name is Keith Rains, and I'm joined in the booth by former senior world curling champion Wade Blanchard, and we're here at the Thistle St. Andrews Curling Club for the 6th annual World Financial Group Jim Sullivan Classic. And we're in the day 1 of action. 18 men's teams are here this weekend and 10 women's teams. This is the first draw for the ladies today, so some of them are getting used to the ice and getting comfortable. The top 6 teams on the women's side will go on to play on Sunday with a quarter, semis, and final. And our marquee matchup today is we have Sylvia Robichaud from Moncton taking on Robin MacPhee from Prince Edward Island. And Robichaud is holding on to a slight 2-1 lead with the hammer. No. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm not losing my mind. I got about 8 scores things I'm looking at down there. So, okay, no, they do it there.
Wow, and Colleen Pinckney tied up that game with Tatlock. It's now 5-5 after playing a 6. So,
Wow, and Tatlock was up was it 4-0 or 4-1?
She got a 4 in the first end,
Yeah.
and it's hard with the free guard zone. I mean, that can go either way. It can either, someone can run away, or because there's such a long game to play, and with the free guard zone, oftentimes you see that. I mean, you know, there's two games out there where, well, 3 games actually, the Sullivan Talon game, the Pinckney Tatlock, and the Smith Hanlon game. There was lopsided scores to start the game, and now they're all tied up.
And they're shaking hands down there in the Armstrong-Graham match.
Yeah, Shelley just actually stole one in 6, but still a pretty monumental lead.
But they left on a high.
Yeah,
They got a point,
good
right?
Good point.
Let's get a point before we before they buy us a pop.
Yeah.
Again, we'd like to thank our sponsors that helped make this event possible. Obviously, Thistle St. Andrews Curling Club and Mike Buckley and all the volunteers on the committee, the World Financial Group, Bell Lion, Molson Coors, and the Canadian Mental Health Association. And obviously all the teams that have are participating here this weekend. And as Kevin Baban said, there was a waiting list that teams have wanted to get into this this event, but to run it, they're pretty well at max now, I believe, with the 28 teams.
Yeah.
You know, so you can start. I mean, some of these games. Well, you had a draw. Didn't we have a draw this morning?
Started at 9 o'clock this morning. Yeah.
So there's no more room at the end, really.
No.
I mean, now at the 12 o'clock draw, we did have, I think, a couple sheets open over there.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I
Right.
mean, you can't. So that's great to see, and you know, you're coming here for a great cause, obviously, but the other thing that brings teams here is an outstanding venue and great competition.
Absolutely.
So it's really nice to see the teams from Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia. We have teams from Newfoundland here this year. Last year we had was it team
Jean-Michel Menard from Quebec,
Yeah.
who ended up winning the men's side of it. They had some.
But they had a tough road.
They had some pretty tough games, and they just kept scratching and digging. And anybody that's watched them on television, they never give up. They're very very emotional team, and they end up winning the whole thing. So, but it wasn't without having the work for it.
Because did he win the Brier one year, or
Yes, he
did?
did.
He did.
He beat Glenn Howard in the final.
Yeah.
Afraid of I can't remember the year, but yeah, he won and played the World Championships. I believe it was in Boston that year.
But isn't that that's just great kudos to the organized committee and the competition to have teams like that want to come down.
Yeah.
And second thing, like you said, it wasn't an easy road for them.
No, but it is part of the World Curling Tour, so the teams will get points. And last year was an important year, being all these teams were trying to gather points up to get into to get a shot for a possible Olympic berth. So that's how we could lure Michelle's team down. So anyway, so
Whatever it takes.
whatever it takes. Yeah, part of the entrance fee that the teams pay, their entry fee goes towards the World Curling Tour. So there is a bit of a, unfortunately, you would like to you use all your money for the prize money, but part of it goes towards that. But that also enables you to maybe invite somebody, attract some of these teams from away. It's nice of
To turn the heat on?
Mr. Buckley to turn the heat on for us up here.
Well, I came here yesterday, and it was pretty cool up here, let me say. So I have some extra clothing in my bag just in case. I said, geez, maybe they're not going to turn the heat on up here first, but it's nice to.
Well, Mr. he does a great job for us here. We're grateful to have him, and he's done a tremendous job managing our club for the last few years. And there was always a bit of a, I guess, joke for some and not so much for others that downstairs too was always like a meat locker. And, anyway, especially some of the ladies found it quite uncomfortable. And anyway, we ended up putting a couple mini splits in, and we absolutely
Found some heat.
found some heat and some low cost heat too. So anyway, so all is happy now, and it's all good. And we're saving energy to boot. So.
Well, and that's we just briefly touched on it. The new lighting system that went in here last year,
Yeah.
the LED lights, and how much brighter it is in here. But on the flip side, they don't throw off as much heat as the old lights used to.
It's freezing out there, and I mean, they've told me that the wattage that the old lights used to put off, which was incredible when you add it all up. And I know there would be people out that would work on the lights or would go up on the scaffolding to work on the lights, and they'd be up there in a t-shirt and it'd be freezing cold out there, and because of the amount of heat, and of course the heat rises up in the rafters, and these lights don't give off that, and it is freezing as a skip. Oh my goodness, you got to put on lots of clothing. So, but it's been tremendous from an economical point of view, from saving of energy, and then the extra light that we get out there is fantastic. We don't have a huge membership here at Thistle, but we've got a very resourceful group, and the amount of things we had our chiller go on our plant while it needed to be replaced, and we replaced that this year, and we've been raising money, and we had the help from various forms of government, and which is always helpful. And then we had a dinner here last Friday night, raised some money, and anyway, we always seem to find a way to make it happen.
Well, remember last year for the tanker, we had the fans sort of hooked up outside, hauling in air, or pushing out air, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Because that was that would have been February, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Because we had a big snowstorm.
No, what we need to do, see, when you make in the ice, you can't have it freeze too quick because it will shale on you, and so we have to warm it up out there. So we usually get by our salamander heater, rent one, and then warm up the ice shed out there before we can do a flood, and so that the ice will melt or freeze, over a proper amount of time instead of fast.
It is an art form. I had the opportunity to be, at the when we hosted the Ford World Championships here, and then being up in Fredericton and whatnot, and opportunity to talk to the ice maker, the Iceman.
Yeah.
And we have some outstanding ones here in the province.
A little bit of mess going on here now for Sylvia.
Draw back here. Oh, just missed that.
She's in a little bit of trouble, and Melissa so close to knocking a couple of these off, but didn't quite work out that way.
And MacPhee is doing what she has to do here, is get rocks in play.
Yeah. I'm sure she'd love to steal one. I'm sure she'd love to steal two, and she's presently laying two and throwing. So she's in a real good position to put a lot of pressure on Sylvie.
Speaking of rocks in play, there's quite a few in that Smith-Hanlon game too.
Yeah, that's always, Heidi's always had a comfort level playing with a lot of rocks in play, and it's funny when you look at our sheet and with the score and stuff, some people aren't very comfortable with rocks in play, and Heidi's always had that comfort zone, and it's worked obviously well for the last few ends, and she's got one in there now, dead buried on the button, so. In position, really good position to possibly steal again and take the lead after 7.
Here's MacPhee's first shot for her here in the 7th end.
Yeah, she's got a long ways to go to get to It's kind of hanging out, but it will curl. There's no question about that. It's all her weight. So just looks like a straight guard, and see what Sylvie does. She's got a decision to make. I would think that probably the best call for her would to come around straight draw. She's not going to be able to take all those guards off, and she may have a more difficult shot on her next one if she doesn't, but she's got a chance actually if she puts one in a good spot of maybe even getting a couple here. So turn from the defensive onto the offensive a little bit. We'll see what she does. Looks like we have one of the ladies' games over. Looks like Sarah Malay is, I don't see what happened in the 7th, but obviously she must have scored some more to put an end to that game and her win over Kathy Hicks. Looks like the Dobsons have called it a day too. They've left the ice, so it looks like Dexter's beaten the Dobsons over on sheet 2. Nice play. Wow. Good shot there. Excuse me.
Taking a little bit of time here, Sylvie is deciding on what they want to do here.
She's looking that there might be a possible hole there, Keith. I don't know. I think that's what she's trying to do. She must have to throw, I think, pretty solid weight to keep it to run straight through there. But
And that hole gets a lot smaller the further you get when you get
it's
into
funny.
that hack.
It's funny when you're standing at that other end looking, oh, gee, you could drive a truck through there, is the old saying, and then you get down and sit in the hack and say, holy cow.
And it's interesting you say that because the mental picture and what you're trying to do, and what you'll see some skips and really, or even mates who are trying to make a difficult shot, they'll get halfway down.
Yeah.
They'll turn back around to look at the shot. Maybe it's not so overwhelming then when they get into the hack, you go,
Well,
what?
Yeah, it was funny. I've done just the opposite too. I've been down there saying there's no way I'm going through, and then get down the hack and it looks like a path right to it.
Okay.
And it's funny. It just, I don't know what it is, but there's just
Perception.
perception. And
Here we go. Keep an eye on it here. Keep it on that center line. See if it stays.
you know, it looks
Because
like
once
she's
she
on
starts
the
moving,
front.
oh, it's through.
Wow.
Nice shot, and she gets over the other side, gets that out of there.
Nice shot.
Because she figured that let's do it on this shot. Don't wait till her last shot.
Yeah.
If she misses it, then she can, she at least got one shot left. But that was a great shot by Sylvie.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And as I mentioned, she had to throw that solid weight to keep it straight through that hole, and she just threw it perfect. We have another game finishing. Looked like Jamie Murphy has put an end to Mr. Mayhew's game, so they've quit after 7 as well.
And Murph had a hard time last year when he first started. He had a couple of tough losses at first, and he scrambled back.
Yeah.
I forget how well he did, but he got it going
Yeah.
as the weekend went on. But we broadcast some of his games there earlier on, and you could see they were just struggling with their weight in there.
Of course, Jamie now lives in Halifax, but he born and grew up out in the valley, and has 2 New Brunswick provincial men's championships to his credit.
So looking for a hit and roll in behind cover, and there's another nice shot.
Nice, that's perfect.
Wow,
Perfect.
beautiful shot by Robin there.
See, now that's now Sylvie's got even a more difficult
Yeah.
shot than she had on her last one now, and against 2.
So she's got to try to get in there, at least limit the damage.
Yeah.
So here's putting you on a spot here. Okay, you're
I
Sylvie.
don't have
What
to make
are
the
you
shot.
doing?
I don't have to make the shot, so you're not putting me on any spot. I'll gladly answer that question.
Well, I'm just thinking, are you trying to get it, or you say, you know what, that's too tough. I don't want to give up 2. I'm just going to try to draw in and
You've
let her
gotta-
have 1, and that's it.
Yeah. I think that's a good play. And then you've got Hammer coming home with tied up. So I think you've got to play it that way. You don't want to, you can't, I mean, the other rock's in the 12 foot, so you cannot throw more than 8, back 8.
Yeah.
If you want to do maybe probe a little bit at going, maybe moving it back to back 4 to maybe stay for 1. But I think the important thing is you cannot give up 2 here.
Yeah.
Especially you've had control the whole game, and so you don't want to you don't want to lose that control in the 7th end after having it for 6 ends.
Visit bellline.ca/TV1 for the TV1 live webcast schedule and on-demand content. You'll also get information on TV1 live events available only to Bell Align Vibe customers in Atlantic Canada on Channel 1 and 401. Live TV1 powered by Bell Alliance. And here we're coming up. We're in the 7th end, and we're down to final shot.
Yeah, and I think she's elected just to kind of play a draw to it and get her 1 or let her steal the 1.
Let her take the 1 and then have Hammer coming in 8, all
That's
tied
right.
up 2-2. So it's currently 2-1 now for Robichaud. MacPhee is sitting 2. And like Wade said, she just wants to draw and get any part of the 8. And
yeah, sometimes you just have to
Bite the bullet?
Well, just say good shot, and like you said, bite the bullet, do the wise thing, don't give up 2, and draw 1 in there, and make sure that they only get the 1.
is that heavy?
Well, she is, but I think she's going to get it. Oh, look at that!
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Wow.
Wow.
So what do we know? I don't know if that was the desired call. I know the finish wasn't the desired result, but
I almost had a feeling like she was trying to take that, because with the weight,
yeah.
like
She
if you
definitely
didn't need that weight if you're just going to draw in for 8 and let her have 1.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that was just she just overthrew it or if that's what the weight she wanted. But anyway, it's unfortunate. She's had to control this whole game, and then to give up the control and 2 points in the 7th.
And you see those, we talked earlier about having videotape, right? And say, okay, remember the situation. You know, if that comes up again, it's like a risk reward.
Right.
Like easy draw to the 8,
Right.
tie, hammer. I'm liking those odds.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But if we short, too hard, too easy, we give up 2. Now but we're down.
That's right. And there's been that's the only deuce that's been given up the whole game.
Yeah, this has been a very, very tight game.
Yeah, and the thought of getting 2 coming home would be difficult. I mean, although you're going to play this end probably a little differently than you would have in the other end she'd been playing.
Yeah.
So
here we go, and in the other sheet there, Hanlon and Smith. Smith scored 1 in the 7th end to go up 5-4, but Hanlon will have the hammer in 8. And that's been an exciting match. We'll keep you tuned on that, and we have a 6-4 game here in the 8th.
yeah, Pinckney came all the way back from being down 4, came back. She's got now a 7-5 lead, so quite a turn of events there. And the other pretty crazy game too over in sheet 3 with Dave Sullivan and Wayne Talon, and is now tied up 8-8, playing 8.
Wow.
With Talon having hammer, so and I don't know if there'd be any level of comfort there with or without hammer with the way they've been giving up points. So.
Well, we're going to have an exciting finish on all these.
No, they're all pretty tight games. Last 4 games remaining, and we should be in for a treat for all of them. So Sylvie's going to go pretty hard to get her deuce here. She's left the one that's in top button and to go for the corner guard. Sometimes, excuse me, sometimes, Keith, the teams will play a little bit too hard to get the deuce, and they don't leave themselves a shot for one. So let's see how Sylvie plays this, and to at least give her a shot at an opportunity of playing the extra end.
Tonight at 9 o'clock, these women's will be back on the court ice again. Sylvie Robichaud will be playing Kathy Hicks, and that will be on sheet 5, so right next to us. So we'll obviously be updating those games for you. And then Robin MacPhee is going to be playing Heidi Hanlon over here on sheet 8. So that will be at 9 o'clock this evening. MacPhee taking on Hanlon, and Robichaud will be taking on Hicks. Our game that on our sheet here will be Wayne Talon taking on Paul Dexter at 9. At 6 o'clock this evening, we'll have Stuart Thompson and Jeremy Millay that'll be at 6 p.m.
She's had a nice shot here, Keith, and with the Robichaud team, and she's just tapped that back through, and now is a little bit. She's mostly exposed, but a little buried underneath. So game on. Tatlock did score 1 in 7, so she's down 1, 7-6, coming home without hammer against Colleen Pinckney from Nova Scotia. Yeah, there's a nice shot there by the MacPhee team.
Oh, now she could hit that and get in behind. Cover.
She's got a couple options. She could roll either way. She can roll in behind there, or she can even roll to the corner. So there's a couple options.
Look, and there's the two options.
Obviously, our mic is down in the.
Whatever you feel more comfortable with, right?
Exactly. I like going over towards the corner actually, but either shot are good.
There.
Pretty close, good effort, but not quite.
Getting down to Skip Rocks with the Hanlon-Smith game, and Smith is sitting 2.
Pretty good shape. She's got one just back T-line on the button, completely buried. So she's in a real good position here. Heidi may have a very difficult shot to get one even, let alone the deuce to win.
Our sheet, we have the same setup as before.
Yeah, no, the girls are they're executing all their hits, trying to make that perfect hit and roll, and anyway, so they're looks like that's what Sylvie's going to try again. Nose hit, so nothing really.
Next draw will be 6 o'clock this evening.
Yeah, the ice crew, they jump right into action as soon as the games are over to get everything ready. And they like to do a quick scrape to take the old pebble off, and they start with a brand new surface for each game, which gives them an optimum surface for the teams to play in.
That's more on the inside this time.
Yep.
Gets a little bit better roll. Still showing.
Yep.
And on the Smith Hanlon, Smith now sitting 3. And it'll be Heidi's first shot here in the 8th end. They're down 1. That's on sheet 7 right next to us.
The only way she can get that one on the button is if she hits it really thin across the top of the one on the yellow to drive everything back. But I don't think there's enough room for her to do that. So these girls might. No, thought they might have a chance of maybe rolling out to that corner, but she didn't quite hit enough of it. She still stayed around and. He's going to be in pretty tough on her last one there. So this is a bit interesting. Robin's elected to play the wide in-turn around the guard instead of the out-turn. So
Sarah Fulton, the shot here, her last shot of this 8th end.
tight on line, you see. Okay, looks like a great shot coming up here. Weight looks really good. Gonna be in front of the tee, which is important.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great shot by Sarah.
Sylvie's going to get Melissa trying to do that same thing. Just come back with back for a little bit more weight. I guess she's looking for about hack weight. I think I would play a little bit even lighter. It'd be nice to just bounce that back to the 8 foot. Even back 4 wouldn't be terrible. She doesn't necessarily have to get shot out of this, but just positioning of her rocks is the most important part right now.
Moving. It's going to hit. Open it up a bit though. And now we're down to skip stones here in the 8th. And Heidi's looking at a whole bunch of yellow.
Yeah, I think the only thing she's got is an in-off on that one.
Yeah.
The Smith girl just threw. So not an easy shot, but at least it's there.
So she wants to go over and just, I mean, it'd
she
be
wants to
awesome if
angle
you
off.
could freeze over to it.
Yeah, she wants to come in off it and just hit and stay right there for her point to tie it. Young Smith girl up perfectly. What she would have done is roll out and not leave the shot. So,
Final shot here on sheet 7 for Hanlon. Looking at 4, but she's down 1. She just wants a. Her shots away. Sweepers are on it.
a little bit tight.
No, just too much, and that's going to do it for that game. They're shaking hands. So Smith defeats Hanlon in a very entertaining match. And now we're down to our skip stones, where MacPhee has a one-shot lead over Robichaud, picking up 2 in the 7th.
Looks like Talon has come through on that game over there against Dave. Dave had the big 5-point lead, but unfortunately couldn't hang on, and Talon ended up coming back to win 9-8.
Well, it's interesting because they were, like you said, they scored 4 in the 3rd.
Yeah.
Talon did.
Yeah.
That brought everything back in perspective. Huh? You're up. Sullivan scored 3 in the 1st, stole 2 in the 2nd to go up 5-0. Talon comes back and scores 4 in the 3rd, and then it was a dogfight after that.
It was a dogfight after that. So Sylvie's trying to come down with the other turn this time, with the in turn, and just tap that one back. Robin got a pretty nice guard on there, but there is just a touch showing. And with the right weight, should be able to have at least a real good shot at it. Looks fairly strong weight. It's a curl a little bit for sure. I think she's got a little bit more weight than what she had hoped. Not bad.
But MacPhee is still shot.
Yeah, Robin's got to deal with that other one because she doesn't want to give up 2 either.
There was 8 sheets starting off. There's 2 left, and we're one of them.
Yeah, we're one of them. That's right. We'll have to thank those girls for giving us a very entertaining game when we could have had some of those other sheets.
Megan Hughes is in the house there.
Yeah, and
Got the broom.
she's going to talk about a few options that she might have, but I think elimination's always a good thing, and she's going to take that yellow and get rid of it. Sometimes you just have to play the scoreboard and you know what, allow the Sylvie to possibly get the tying point, play that extra end. Looks like she's right on the money. Nice.
Oh, she's sitting good.
Yeah.
So now she's just got to draw in there, just tie this up.
Yeah. The percentage of, there's still an opportunity to play an extra end of stealing, but the percentages are still on the side of the person with the hammer and the extra end.
And of course, if we had did our strategy in the previous one, she's only been down 1 and she'd been drawn in for the win here.
Correct.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there, folks.
Exactly.
Don't kill the messenger.
But that is exactly true. And we still don't know if that was intentional, if she was trying to throw that weight, or if it's just a bit of a miscue on her draw weight.
We'll have that in the media scrum there.
Yeah.
Me following.
That's a good job for you, Keith.
I'll make sure she has her broom down.
Yeah.
Nothing within reach that she can throw at me.
Yeah.
Just get a question.
That's right.
Yeah.
You could do your
Curious
messenger
minds
thing.
want to know.
Wade was doing the stuff with me, and
Yeah.
he wants to know. I'm fine.
I'm
but-
fine with it.
Yeah.
It's Blanchard that's got the problem.
That's right. He wants to know. Wow, this is a curl winner.
This could be over now.
Yeah. Wow. Well, game over.
Yeah.
Wow. It was a good game, though, Keith.
Yes.
And, lots of shots being made, and I think there was time that they could have been a little more aggressive at times, but it still was a very entertaining game.
So MacPhee comes out with a victory, and they'll have a little break before they have to play their 9 o'clock game this evening. On behalf of Bell Alliant, I'd like to thank Wayne Blanchard for being up in the booth with us to bring you this broadcast. We're
Good afternoon,
to take a short
one
break,
and
and
all.
we'll be back for more action
Just
here. It's
a
for
quick
the 6
heads
o'clock
up,
draw
Don
for the men.
Odell is here from the
So
Canadian
for
Mental
now, Keith
Health
Rain signing off from
Association.
Thistle St. Andrews Curling.
Fees selling the Sullivan bands and taking donations for the Canadian Mental Health Association at the CMHA